This house should have gone to your father. You're just a grandchild. My stepmother tried to move her daughter into my inherited house while I was at work. I came home on a Tuesday to find a moving truck in my driveway and a woman I'd never met carrying a box of dishes through my front door. My grandmother had left me the house 8 months earlier. She raised me after my parents split and my father drifted off to a new marriage and a new family 2 states away. And she left me the house because I was the one who showed up, who drove her to appointments, who sat with her at the end. It was mine, deed recorded, taxes paid, my name, and only my name. And there was a stranger walking dishes into my house while my stepmother directed traffic from the porch. My stepmother is my father's second wife, Renata. I'd met her maybe 4 times. She had a daughter from before, Coralie, and when I walked up my own driveway that afternoon, Renata put her hands on her hips and said the sentence I will never forget. This house should have gone to your father. You're just a grandchild. Coralie needs a place and you're a single person rattling around in a whole house. We're correcting a mistake. Correcting a mistake. As if my grandmother's will were a clerical error and Renata were the proofreader. I stood very still. I have learned that when someone is doing something outrageous, the worst thing you can do is match their volume, because then it becomes a fight between 2 loud people and the facts get lost. So I didn't yell. I asked her calmly whether she had a key. She said my father had one from years ago, from before my grandmother even got sick. That key was the whole scheme. They'd waited until I was at work, let themselves in with a key that was never theirs to use, and started moving Coralie's things into rooms that belonged to me, betting that once she was physically living there, it would be my problem to remove her, and that I'd be too soft or too scared to do it. Here is what Renata did not understand about the law, and what she assumed I didn't understand either. A deed is not a suggestion. Ownership is not up for a family vote, and moving a person into a house you do not own, using a key you were not given, is not an inheritance dispute. It's trespassing, and depending on how it plays out, it's more than that. I took out my phone. I did not call my father. I photographed the truck, the plate, the boxes on my porch, Coralie in my doorway, and Renata standing there with her hands on her hips, all of it time-stamped. Then I called the police non-emergency line, and I said, in a very level voice, that there were people I did not authorize moving belongings into my home while I stood in my own driveway, and that I had the recorded deed on my phone to prove the house was mine. The officers came within 20 minutes. Renata performed the whole scene for them, the grieving family, the correcting of a mistake, the single grandchild in too big a house. The officer listened politely and then asked her one question. Ma'am, is your name on the deed? It was not. He asked me to pull it up, and I did. Recorded copy, my name, the date, the county seal. He asked Coralie whether she had a lease or any document giving her a right to be there. She did not. And that was the end of the performance. The officer told them they were to remove their belongings from my property that afternoon, and that the key my father held was to be surrendered, and that if anyone entered the house again without my permission, it would be handled as unlawful entry, and he wrote all of it down. Renata tried the grandchild line one more time, to the officer this time, and he said, not unkindly, the deed doesn't care who's a grandchild. It has her name on it. They loaded the truck back up in the dark, slower than they'd unloaded it. My father called that night, furious, not at Renata, at me, for involving the police in a family matter. I told him it stopped being a family matter the moment they used a key they weren't given to move a stranger into my home. He said I'd always been ungrateful. I said Grandma left me the house, and he could take that up with her, and then I hung up, and then I had the locks changed, all of them, that same week. Coralie found an apartment. Renata tells people I stole a house that should have been my father's, and I've stopped correcting her, because the deed corrects her for me. I still live here. My grandmother's chair is by the window where she liked it, and her name is still on the mailbox under mine, and the new key sits on a hook by the door that only I have a copy of.